If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel on YouTube at Wild and Weird WV.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast. Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. Thanks for tuning in yet again. This is your regularly scheduled Wild and Weird Radio broadcast, and it feels like this is the first one in forever.
Yeah, well, it's been almost a month, so...
I know you guys who listen to us week in and week out, you've noticed that the last few weeks have been a little squirrely. Things have been a little out of sorts for the most part, but we wanted to kind of explain what's been going on. We have been all over the place.
Pretty much, yeah.
Festival season has started up. We had a really heavy front end speaking schedule. So a lot of the events we were doing the first bit of the summer here, we've been, speaking at every one of them. And that entails creating the presentation, to put everything together, rehearsing it, and just building stuff and making stuff.
Building stuff, yeah. I mean, a good 80% is production as well. So, we make our stuff. We don't just buy it from, other countries and, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, we actually make it.
Comes straight out of West Virginia basements.
The supplies probably come from China, but we make the actual product. So actually, what?
Our supplies are USA made.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. They're made up in Cleveland.
Oh, wow. That is impressive.
Yeah. So the majority of our resins and everything, they are U.S. made. And
wow.
The majority of our products are made directly in West Virginia basements.
Well, of course they're made in West Virginia. Yeah. Basements, tables. Yep, pretty much.
Anywhere we can fit it, right?
Yeah, anywhere we can put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. It's an absolute war zone at this point when it comes to producing stuff. It's just supplies everywhere. I got to dig out the table. One day I'll actually have a studio. Maybe, I don't know. It's worked. It's worked this long. I mean,
we'll get there. It's nice having one, man.
Yeah.
But and Brandon's been busy too, man. He's been shelling out pages on like the high speed press, man, getting stuff ready for books. It's good to see.
Yeah, we've got quite a bit going on is what we've got. Yeah. So for you guys who don't know, I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. The lives have been very good to us. The live shows every Thursday at 8. You can catch us here. And these guys are helping to actually make all this possible for you guys. We always said to make Wild and Weird radio free for eternity, et cetera, et cetera. And man, we never expected this, but these are
for sure.
This is the support, guys.
This is the support right here. These are everybody that has, this is everyone who stepped up at this point and just gone above and beyond as far as I'm concerned. So special thanks to Adam Good, Theresa, Dewey Edwards, James Boggs, Spooky Appalachia, Larry Host, Guitars and Chains Craig, Travis Aurednik, Geoffery Steele, Russ Bailey, Chris Coots, Ada Cox, Nancy White. Boy, Joe, that list just gets longer every week.
Oh, yeah.
Every week. And, we appreciate every one of you guys. It blows our mind that you guys support us the way that you do. Thank you so much for that. Man, it has been such. Let's get to the news.
Oh, the news.
I forgot where to step up here.
Somewhere there's a news button. It's around here somewhere. kind of miss that.
It's been a while.
Right?
It's been a while. So what do we got in the news, Brandon?
Well, the one that I thought was the most interesting was some scientists have gotten together and created a database for prehistoric archaeological sites, and there are a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
The map that they made for that is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
The vastness that we were not taught, right?
yeah. Yeah, well, we're not taught a lot.
To their credit, a lot of it is new discoveries.
Yeah.
Some of them haven't even been dug up, like a lot of the tepes in Turkey. They haven't even been excavated yet. I think they're on the map, though. But the thing that I found interesting was they have a pretty comprehensive list where they're trying to, of like all the artifacts that have been found at each site. So you can like compare and contrast everything. You can also sort it by how old they are. So I've been interested to see if there's a lot of sites that are in that 11,500 year mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, eventually all that is going to get thrown into some AI database and it's going to give us all the answers we need. So that'll be great. I wonder if it'll just make it up so it can lead us along. I wonder if it'll do that, or will it tell us the truth? We'll be able to actually trust it any more than we can, any of the other scholars and government officials at this point. Probably not. No, I doubt it. I don't think so. What else you got to
You got to think about who's going to create that.
Yes.
As what it's going to say.
Well, I mean, everybody who's using this crap's creating it. So let's be real here.
Yeah.
You're training it. You're training it for free.
Yep.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of people who don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. Every time you tell this thing, hey, go make me a Joe Squatch. Okay. Generates a Joe Squatch. It's got 6 fingers, whatever. That's cool.
6 fingers, 5,000 teeth.
Right. Right. Looks uncannily like Joe.
Like
with a
Tim Burton's Nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Okay. So, and it's like, wow, that's really cool. But let me do another one just to be sure. Because, so what you're doing every time you say, let me do another one, let me try to make another version of this. Every time you make those versions, every single time, that is a feedback. It's saying, oh, did you not like this one? Oh, why did you not like that? It's going to figure out. And pretty soon they're not going to have 6 fingers. Pretty soon they're going to look just as real as you and me, maybe even more real. And then they're going to take my spot. Or Brandon's.
Floating head in a jar.
Could be, yeah. Could be the floating head in a jar. Yeah, why not? So, yeah, I can't wait to do the AI episode. I know I keep threatening that for everyone, but it's a really long and complicated episode.
And harder, at least.
And I want you guys to actually get something from it rather than just a bunch of rants from people, because we want it to be full of information, just completely full of information and real information, up-to-date information. But this thing is changing every day. Yep. So it's kind of one of those hard things to do. But
we don't do one every year just to keep up with it.
Well, yeah, but it's definitely got to be done. And that's what we're setting on. So expect that coming up here in the near future. What else in the news, Brandon?
So some scientists released a paper about huge quantities of liquid mercury they found under the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
Teotihuacan, that particular huge pyramid.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Well, we've... Go ahead.
I was going to say the ancient astronaut theory that liquid mercury is used as some sort of like propellant or something like that.
Something like that. So it's actually used in the Vimana as a power source, basically, is what you're thinking about. But what I find amazing about this is, you're talking about the temple that's found under, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there's other places where it's been found under these temples as well. And there's a theory, archaeologists have a theory about everything, but typically the theory is that they're creating a lake of the dead, something like that, right? It's some kind of barrier, it's symbolic, blah, blah, blah. Why And okay, I'll buy it. That's cool. But we know at this point, I'm pretty sure one was found in Egypt as well.
Yep. Too.
That's right. I've heard rumors of that. So my question is this. You can say they mean whatever symbolically all you want, but why are they there? Because how did these people, where did the contact come from? They're not supposed to be culturally, bumping into each other, right? I mean, isn't that what we were taught? Am I missing something? Or,
Yeah, it seems the theory too with all them is basically the same thing. They used it for the exact same reason, but how did these cultures that are thousands of miles apart, that didn't have any communication as far as we know of with each other at that time, how do they come with the same conclusion to build the exact same thing?
Exactly. And why? Why in this particular manner? Why are they in pyramids? Mercury, pyramids, Mercury, the thing that's actually very hard to get your hands on anymore. The thing that alchemists used to use, it was one of the key ingredients to the Philosopher's Stone. Mm-hmm. There's a reason Mercury is important, in my opinion, and there's a reason that it's also it's banned pretty much. I mean, I remember going to school. They had it in you could play with it, right?
You can play with it. Yeah, I remember.
Not anymore.
On our desk.
Not anymore. Now it's it'll kill you. It'll kill you. Wow, that's amazing because, I mean, so many people should be dead.
I mean, we all are a little mad.
That's true. We are. But what kind of a world would it be without a little madness?
Exactly. So one of the news articles that caught my attention, guys, did you see that they replicated the superconductor?
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
That was really cool. That means that we're in a process now where this could actually become a usable energy source sooner rather than later.
Well, if you don't, I mean, you probably remember this, but some decades ago, it was said that this happened at one point, and then it just quiet. No one ever talked about that again. And now we have that remarkable discovery. After these people were told, I don't know, tell us what you know about so-called, recovered technology, reverse engineered technology. And then all of a sudden we've got superconductors. I saw a thing about cold fusion, right? Yeah. There's a cold fusion report. What was the other one? There was some other crazy. Metal. Yeah, haven't heard that one before. Intelligent metal. I mean, what? You think they just came up with this stuff overnight? You think it's just a coincidence that they're like, hey, look what we did. Look what we made.
The toys we've got, guys. We made this in the lab. We found it on a ship.
Yeah, exactly. Where'd you find it? No, we made it. Okay. That's cool. That's sweet.
That's why they backfilled those temples with mercury. They were trying to hide the garages they pulled these aircraft out of.
It's probably. It wouldn't surprise me.
Spacecraft, rather.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. What else you got? You news hounds. What you got out there?
Another one that was interesting was there was a meteor that hit Somalia that has 2 minerals that have never been seen on Earth before.
I saw that. Yeah.
That's a pretty good chunk of rock too. From the picture.
Yeah, the fact that it had minerals that haven't been seen on Earth. I'm amazed that they even admitted that. Because
speaking of looking for minerals that haven't been seen on Earth, and this may not be newsworthy, but I do think it is. Have you noticed how Avi Loeb has just been hush hush?
He was on there again not too long ago, but he was kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, he's saying the same thing. It's the same data. There's supposed to be that big thing in September, I think.
It's supposed to be a paper. They're writing a paper. It's got to be peer reviewed, and that'll be released to the public. And that should be coming up.
Yeah,
very soon.
Out in September, because he has not given us any new information. Nope. We found out about this.
He's keeping it quiet. Yeah, he's keeping it all quiet.
I'm sitting on pins and needles waiting for this because it is going to be wild.
Well, when it drops, it's going to drop. And it's not going to be like, rumors of, Avi, is getting ready to release this. It's going to be like, there it is.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. It's been peer reviewed now by X amount of scientists. And it says what it says. And you're just going to have to deal with that. that's where we're going with that. What's the latest on the character assassination with our old boy Grush? Anybody got any news on that? That kind of.
What's not new with that, man? Like they're wearing him out.
Yeah,
they released.
It's not looking good.
Documents. They released his, basically all of his job correspondence that was.
Did you see the petition to get the guy removed? Who wrote the article?
Really?
Yep. That's how far this went. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He said he was doxing him.
Yep. So they actually filed a petition. Yep, they filed a petition to actually get him removed from the writer's staff. So yeah, he could lose his job over that. And honestly, I don't
information.
I don't even. I mean, here's the thing. I think it is, but according to some, it's not. I don't know how it's not. I think it is.
It's you don't want it to be.
My whole thing is I don't really care about that. What I care about is they villainized PTSD.
Yeah.
I care about that because that's crap. I mean, there's a lot of people with PTSD, and you just, yeah, exactly. Well, all of us have it to some extent, and the whole point is, and it doesn't come from just war, guys. By the way, PTSD can come from a lot of things. Traumatic stress disorder,
guys. Like I did not come out with PTSD. I was in with it.
Yeah, it can come from stressful work conditions. It can come from abusive relationships. It's anyone who has it, little things can trigger them. And I mean that in the sense of the word, literally trigger. It's really bad. And to use that against someone and trying to discredit them is one of the lowest of the low that you could possibly do. And it should never have been brought up. That should have never been brought up. And I don't care if someone said, oh, well, here, we think you might find this useful for your article. You should have had enough common sense to look at that and say, I'm not going to do this.
Ethically,
this is wrong.
It shouldn't have been done.
No.
Professionally, it's wrong for so many reasons.
No, it shouldn't be done. You don't do that.
It's the room of
the problem.
In the room of the media and politics, they throw all the ethics out.
They do. And, honest to God, if that's the only thing you got on this guy, if that's all that you got that you thought you had, you are going to need a bigger boat.
Yep.
They tried the same thing with Elizondo, too, remember?
Yeah.
They tried
to Ludus went.
He kind of went off radar for a while.
Yeah, well, he did the right thing. You don't give him anything. You just shut up, go off to your ranch, and let time prove you right. And that's kind of what's happening with Grush at this point, too, I think. But the thing is, the theory is that they are basically, he's the test boy. He's the test boy, and you've got all these other witnesses who are watching him, and they're going to see how he's treated and what happens to him, and that's going to determine if they can come forward or not. That's where we're at with this. So they really think if they can take Grush down, the rest of them will fall. They'll just fold. I don't think so. I think that they just made a big mistake with this one. I think that they gave them fuel because, I mean, I'm not even in that situation, and it infuriates me.
You saw what the congressional hearing, what happened during the congressional hearing. They said that basically if you were harassed or given flack from anybody in your field or any of your superiors, we're going after them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what they did. So I think this
is the same thing. It's not one of his peers. It's not one of his superiors. It is an outside attack on his character.
Yep. Well, they did it on the outside because they can't do it on the inside, Joe.
Yeah.
They'll lose their funding, won't they? Oh. But honestly, this guy was literally used. I don't know if he knows that or not, but whoever gave him that information or gave him that little tip, they used him. They used him to be the fall guy on this because that's how it works.
Yeah.
Maybe he was the guy they picked because he has the least stuff on his background that they could get a hold of like that.
I don't know.
Or he was just new.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Trying to cut his teeth. I don't know the guy's history.
I don't know. I think he's a reputable journalist, but this hurt him. This hurt him bad. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Well, you shouldn't dabble in that kind of stuff and smear campaigns and whatnot. And I don't care what they promise you, but
you just turned every veteran in America.
That's what I'm saying.
For you, that's what you did.
Yeah.
You like none of us like
not just veterans. Not just veterans, anyone. Oh, particularly, yes. And that matters too, especially where this is related to, you know, the UAP phenomena with the DOD and whatnot. That really matters. But you literally just opened a can of worms and don't even know that. And then, well, you probably know it now, but, you know, good luck. I don't know. So what else we got, guys?
That's all I have.
So did?
I think that was really all I was seeing too, man. Like the congressional hearing stuff has been kind of wrapped up now, and there's not been any real new information about it coming out. No new revelations. It's just waiting for this December hearing.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So, and the fact that it's quiet should tell us something.
Yep.
Have you guys had any new reports sent to you?
New reports. Dude,
we have had several new reports. Actually.
All the time.
We've had just in the last 48 hours, okay, 3 new Bigfoot reports sent out.
Got Bigfoot. We've got
in the last since Saturday. So this is now Tuesday. Since Saturday, this will make the 6th Bigfoot report.
Wow.
We've got UFO sightings. Even Stan was talking about that. And apparently those sightings stretched all the way from the Chestnut Ridge area all the way down into West Virginia. We had sightings down here that matched kind of what was going on there on the same days. So it was almost like there was a mini flap toward the end of July. They were not meteors. Some of these things were actually doing some pretty remarkable things. They were, you know, zigzagging and flashing and doing all the weird stuff that you expect from some of these things. The Buckhannon area has been hot. There's been some sightings in that region too now, I think, just in the past couple of weeks. And we're definitely getting some stuff reported. So we've gotten a lot more stuff being reported now. I think when we went to Hocking Hills, a lot of people started, I think they started saying, hey, we'll send this over to these guys to actually listen. So
And some of the best part about, at least with the Bigfoot reports coming in, they're in areas that we're already actively researching from people that had no idea we were there doing stuff. And they're like, oh, well, let me tell you about this. And let me tell you about this. And then they go get a friend of theirs and say, hey, send this in. And it's been pretty remarkable.
Are they recent or are they older reports?
No. 3 of them are in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think the heat is making them more active?
It's berry season, man.
Sweet stuff's out there, brother.
Sugar's on the ground. You've got fruits that are starting to fall. You've got some berries that are coming out. You've got there's a lot of food available right now, right before the big fall crash, and then they got to switch over to eating other types of food. So you start packing in sugars and calories, and any way you can. And the sweet stuff is rare, man. Natural occurring sugars are rare in Appalachia. And when they occur only in a very finite window. So it's going really good, man. Like, we've got Beth out there working. She's been working and working the field literally for the last 2 days. And she found a possible track. The track's unrelated to the sightings, because the sightings were like a week and a half or a few days old. But they're in the immediate vicinity, which means that these creatures are frequenting through this specific area.
Yeah.
And so she's excited. We're excited. It's coming along pretty well.
Yeah. I like the direction that is going in. I think it's also okay to mention that we did have a little bit more peer review on some of our evidence as well at Hocking Hills that we didn't really get to talk about yet. We're going to document that in a piece in the future here, where you can actually see it. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. But we are pretty confident at this point saying that at least one track we know of that we did not take at Wineberry does match the one that we did take. So we're pretty confident that was made by the same whatever it was, same creature, thing, being. Call it what you want to call it. So I do believe that's probably going to be it for the news then. Is that right, guys?
Yep.
Good to go there? All right.
So
I'm going to hit the button. All right. Well, there's the news. And What do we have on the what's the word? The topic desk tonight, Joseph?
Well, tonight is a really interesting topic because it's going to be a cultural phenomenon. Some of you guys who are not from the East Coast or not necessarily from Appalachia, you're going to be, let's say, entertained with a story on cultural history and the longevity of what would be called mountain witches or granny witches.
Is that like a sandwich?
Yeah.
Sandwich?
Yeah. You take two old people and you smash them between a piece of bread.
I don't even want to talk about that. Disgusting. So, you're all right. So basically, we're not talking about. Are we talking about real witches, or are we talking about like just perceived? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We're not talking about the old. We're not talking about the old hags who lived in the cave with the one eye and they shared amongst themselves, right? So,
no, we're not talking about those. What we're talking about is the phenomena of when the Irish, Scottish, and English old school witchcraft, magic, whatever you want to call it, medicine.
Medicine, yeah.
And combined with First Nations medicine.
Yeah.
And the baby that created, which is unique to Appalachia. And it would be your Appalachian mountain witches. It would be your granny magics, what they call it. And, it's almost like a dying phenomena now. At this point, it's the year 2023, and now it's not nearly as prevalent. It was really dropping off in the 80s.
Yeah.
But now it's even more so spread thin, and few people talk about it. But there were all these remedies and herbal remedies and medicinal things that could be done that they were the specialists on. Essentially, they were like the medicine men of your little town or village. And you would go to them for your ails. Like if you were trying to have a baby, you would go see them, and they would do some stuff. Some of their tricks, and some of the techniques were still used commonly today, like dangling a pendulum over the baby or over.
That's right. I remember. Yeah. I remember hearing the stories growing up, and it was always the grandmas and the great grandma did this, and and every now and again you get somebody else who carried it out, but some of their stories were pretty remarkable. I mean,
and then and it's not just all witchcraft.
No,
because there's also there's these verses in the Bible that they would read. Because these people were Christians, but they were also they used the practices that were taught to them.
Dude, I remember one. They were talking about something like a knot would swell up on your hand, and they would hit it with a Bible.
Yeah,
have you heard that one?
Oh,
like that was one of the cures that they would do. Hit everything with the Bible, and I'm thinking,
headache, bam.
It's like, wait a minute, you're hypocrite much?
You're right.
I'm sorry. It's I don't get it because you are
an idea that evil spirits are what afflict you and cause your ailments. So hitting with the Bible, where it says in the Bible that the Bible is your sword, they think it literally is. So they use it as a weapon. Bam, knock them right out of you.
And
I worry about humans sometimes.
There were verses they would use to stop bleeding, and I've seen that done. There were verses that they would use to soothe and make burns go away, and I have seen that done as well. There was one that actually, because I was taught, right? Okay, I was taught by a mountain witch that I call Grandma, and my son was stung by a bee the other day. First time he'd ever been stung. And I'm lucky enough.
Did you grab the Bible and beat the crap out of him with it?
Yeah, I took my Bible and
just saying.
Get thee behind me, Satan. I started beating with the Bible.
No, seriously. What?
Anyway,
I haven't heard the bee one yet.
We've got some tomatoes growing out here.
Okay.
So I took the tomato leaves, I chewed them up, I spit them back out my mouth or out into my hand, and then stuck it on his on the sting.
That's called a poultice, by the way. For those who don't know, that's a poultice, right? That's what it is.
It is. and it sucked out the venom.
Yeah.
And it within minutes he was like, "Daddy, my boo-boo's gone," and he was back.
I have a question.
Never itched.
I have a question. When did you do this?
Not too long ago. It was week before last.
Oh, thank God. Well, I mean, it is nightshade you're putting in your mouth, chewing up and spitting back out.
Yeah,
so.
it's good. I didn't swallow it.
Okay. What we're saying, folks, is we don't recommend you going out there and chewing up random bits of vegetation.
Unless you know what you're doing.
Unless you know what you're doing. There's several really good books, though, and you make a good point here.
Yeah.
What they're calling witchcraft or mountain witches or
herbal medicine.
It's herbal medicine and metaphysics. They learned it way back when, and most of them had to keep it quiet and hush hush. But what's really funny about it is, like you said, the ones who didn't, they figured out a way to work the Bible into it, and that's okay now.
Yeah.
I mean, they burned your great aunt or your grandmother or whatever at the stake for doing the same thing, 150 years before that. But it's all right now because we added the Bible to it. There's a loophole.
And tobacco, using tobacco on stuff to help make it better and suck out the infection, things of that nature. I'd had that done to me as well when I was younger. Mm-hmm. But the tomato leaf, I was like, hey, wow, this is perfect. Works out great. Here we go. I'm going to do this. This is something that I'd never done it for somebody else before, but it was done for me because I cannot tell you how many times I got stung by bees. And I cannot count how many times I was stung. But my grandpa and my grandma
probably because they're demons and they're after you.
It's right. They're Nephilim. They're disembodied. The bees.
That's what they are.
Possessed by disembodied Nephilim.
That's what it is. I read that somewhere recently.
So anyway.
Speaking of which, segue right here for just 1 second. We're actually going to do a show on the Nephilim at some point, right? And that we're going to. I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody because we get this thrown at us all the time about the Bigfoot stuff. Okay. And aliens and Bigfoot, and it's all Nephilim, it's all fallen angels. So first of all, no, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to those two things because those are separate things. Fallen angels and Nephilim are completely separate things. Isn't that right, Joe? Just really quick.
To a degree, yeah. The fallen angels are not Nephilim.
That's right. That's what I wanted to get at.
It is heavily debated.
Yeah.
That the fallen angels were the ones that laid with women.
Right, and produced it. Right.
Produced Nephilim.
Okay. That
could have also been the Watchers, and if that was the case, they were here on purpose. They weren't fallen.
That's right. Exactly. So I expect a really big, deep dive into that. And we're not going to talk 100% religion on this. We're just going to go in there and dissect it for people who really are having a hard time with this. There's a few. There's a few.
You are going to be getting this information from someone who is a minister. Okay. Yeah. Someone who has done the book work, someone who has sat at a desk and studied this literally for years.
And someone who's an ancient astronaut theorist.
Yeah.
We're going to see how that goes because I got a feeling it's going to meet somewhere in the middle.
It usually does. How many times me and you sat at the dinner table and had the conversation?
Yeah. But I think it's going to be a good one to have, and I think that we'll get a lot of people who are.
I think so.
I mean, I'm
for sure.
This is Judge. Go ahead.
It's interesting that you never even heard people talking about the Nephilim until like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasts are grabbing onto it.
That's right. Well, it's not just that. It's not podcasts. It's shows. There's a lot of shows that grabbed it. There's a lot of YouTubes that are throwing it in there. It's shock stuff. But, the thing is, now we've seen it come to us in reports. Mm-hmm. And when someone stands in front of you and tells you that they believe that the Nephilim were in their backyard, it's hard to stand there with a straight face. And I don't mean to laugh at them. I'm just talking about, oh my God, we really need to talk.
Yeah.
And how do you have that conversation? That's the question without making them feel bad. How do you have that conversation? Because I don't know 100% of it either, but I do know that.
That's how you have.
Yeah, but I do know that these people don't have all the data, and they need that data to make their own decision.
Someone that
right,
and they bought it
Right. Exactly. They bought it completely without looking into it. And you're seeing that. That's kind of the TikTok generation, boys and girls. That's the social media generation. They believe everything they see and hear.
But we're going to analyze it, compartmentalize it, and do our best to
Dumb it down a little bit.
give you the evidence and let you make up your own decision.
Sure, yeah. Be looking for that. Nephilim 101 or whatever. We don't know what we're going to call it yet. But that'll be coming in the future. I just wanted to get there because we had spoken about the that was just weird. I mean, we had some very interesting conversations with people. Let's just put it that way. And then when you mentioned the demon bees, it just triggered it. Sorry.
So with some of this other stuff, you have the horseshoes and the roots that are hung on walls, rooms. Brandon, what are the ones that you know of?
Horseshoe hanging over the doorway, the front door or the back door, or both, is what people usually do. Keeps haints from coming through your front door.
Yep.
Well, you had
That's one of my favorite things too, is how they get rid of spirits. Like, that's one of my favorite things to look into, because there's so many of those different ways to do it.
Yep.
Well, they had the Hexons too. Let's not forget that. That's a part of mountain witchery as well. And
but it's all around your windows and doors.
Yes, and that's actually a very old occult practice, which is amazing. That these.
If you've traveled through anywhere in Appalachia, you've driven by a barn, and you've seen the hex marks on it.
That's right. All the way up into Pennsylvania. I mean, up near Meteor Road up there where the incident happened.
Yeah, that's where the traditional barn front door shapes come from, is from that. I actually have one on my chicken coop just for design purposes, not to keep.
No, it's not. No, that's not what that's for. No. No, that's not what that's for. That's to keep the evil demon chickens away. That's what that's for. Yeah. And I've seen the evil demon chickens. I mean, I used to, newsflash, back in the day, I grew up, I used to raise them. I grew up on a farm. We had a massive corn farm, and there was chickens everywhere. And there's much to do about chickens. Let's just say that. So
one of the other things that is attributed to mountain witches and granny witches is the craft of dowsing. Give us a little bit of history on dowsing, because I know that you yourself are a dowser.
Yep, yeah, I am, and that is one of that's probably one of the first weird things that I really started playing around with. I think it's probably why I got back into the whole psychic phenomenon and whatnot too.
Tell people what dowsing is first.
Basically, it's the use of either L rod, Y rod. There's several things. Pendulums, you can do that, and
I'm about to do one right now.
Yeah, probably. And what happens is you've got a medium, and you think about whatever you're trying to figure out, and the device responds. One of the oldest ones that, not oldest is probably water witching. That's what my uncle used to do. He used to do the water witching thing. He would take the Y rods, and he was very, very good at what he did. There were people who would pay him to find wells for them. Okay. And, that's back in the day, they drill their wells. So he would go around and find them, and he was right. I mean, that was it. He knew exactly where they were. He knew how deep it was. He knew exactly where they had to drill. I saw it multiple times, him doing this. One day I was in their yard. I was young. I don't know, probably about 10, 11, something like that. And I picked up his rod, and he was laughing at me like, "Oh, you're going to try that?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" So he shows me how to hold it. And he says, "Oh, walk through there and just think about what you're looking for. Water, right?" Well, that thing goes straight down, and he's like, it blew his mind. He grabbed it, and he was like making sure that it was in the same area. And he was like, "Yeah, it was." And I don't know. I mean, I learned how to do it right at that point, but I gravitated more toward L rods. That's the bent copper wire, or you could use coat hangers, whatever, we use whatever. And I could get those to respond a whole lot better. I got to the point on those to where I could literally take a quarter, hold it in my hand, throw it behind my back, good 20 feet away, turn around and find it. in tall grass every single time. So I learned that there was much more to this, though, than witchery or some kind of weird hoodoo. I met a guy who was a treasure hunter. And he was telling me how he had this dowsing course. He paid a lot of money for his dowsing course, and we were just comparing notes about it. And he's like, "Oh, I bet you could do this." And he let me borrow his professional dowsing rod, and I have never seen anything like this at this point. I mean, it was akin to somebody handing you a lightsaber. It had coils in it. It had a real fine, thin antenna that came off the end of those coils, and then it went into this super handle that had this piston in it. I mean, you could breathe on it, and it would turn. Oh, wow. And then it had a chamber in the back, and in that chamber you unscrewed and you put whatever you were looking for in that. These were made for looking for treasure, or for oil dowsing, or gas dowsing, and stuff like that. And the course was about that thick, the whole book, everything that he had. Wow. And I devoured that. And at that point, I learned how to do it even better than I had before. But it's about energy. That's what it comes down to. So these old mountain witches, and they were learning how to source out and find energy. Their bodies were attuning to that energy. That's how this works, by the way. There's nothing magical to it. So if I bust anyone's bubble here, there's nothing magical or evil about it. How it works, you can't douse for something as in that you don't know. That's it. A lot of people even think that it's a means of sort of like remote viewing. It's natural. You can do this. Like how many times have you lost something in your house and you're like, I remember where's that? You see it in your head for that little flash of a second, right? Yeah. A lot of people think you're remote viewing at that point. So these dowsing rods are kind of tapping into whatever energy that is that you have. It's that whole everything is in tune kind of thing. Everything connects. So if you can figure out what you're actually looking for, that frequency, you can go right to it. Now, it's amazing. It works. I've seen it. I've done it multiple times. But it's one thing when you do this, and it's another thing when someone puts enough faith in you to find their water, right? But one of the scariest and most crazy things that happened about this, I don't know if I think I told you about this, Joe. I know Brandon doesn't know, and I know the audience doesn't know. We had someone at our house years ago. This is after I was very good dowsing, by the way. And they were digging a line. And they knew that there was a gas line there. Mm-hmm. They had a backhoe. They knew there was a gas line there. But they didn't know where it was. And the guy was like, well, I forgot he had a detector. He's like, he forgot his detector. And he's like, I'll have to come back tomorrow. And Dad said, well, he can douse. Talking to me. And I'm like, whoa, wait now. I'm not going to kill everybody here. I mean, I don't know about that. But that guy was like, you can do it? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I trust him. I've seen it. I know. I'm like, all right, then let's do this. So I marked it off. We had some little flags he had, and we did it like 10 times. And it came back in the exact same spot. And he said, that's where the line's at. I'm not digging there. I'm digging over here. There's nothing over there, right? And I was like, no, I guess not. It's not giving me any responses. He dug there, not a single thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's one thing when people put that kind of much faith in you, I guess. But that was probably the weirdest dowsing experience I ever had because, I could have blew us all straight to Kingdom Come. But,
Luckily, you didn't.
Luckily, I didn't. My dad had faith in me, and total stranger did.
Brandon looked like he was trying to build a pendulum there, but by the time he got it made, I think he was going up looking a little bit like me. So explain to the folks what you were trying to do there with your wedding band and hair.
So the old story was usually it was a wedding band, but if you don't have one, it's just a ring you wear often. And you pluck a hair out of your head, but my hair is not long enough apparently. And you tie it to your ring, and you can either tell the spirits, 1 for yes, 2 for no, but your ring will actually start rocking on its own whenever you ask a question. I've actually done this before, and it's really freaky. I guess it's a form of divination when you do it like that.
You can
that would be divination.
You can body dowse as well. And honestly, though, the secret is there's no spirits involved. It's you. It's all in here. It's that psychic connection to the universe that you have. And you like, okay, here's the thing. You can't ask something that you don't possibly know. Like, I can't dowse for yes or no to something that I don't actually have the information on, right? Mm-hmm. So I couldn't be like, you know, like the lottery numbers, for example. Why do you think no one can win the lottery with dowsing? Why do you think they can't do it with the pendulum? Because they're not supposed to. They can't. They don't know how to do that. You can't see the future. So, you know, and if you do get something to where it does that, then you have tapped into some kind of spirit. And I advise you just to not be dealing with that anymore. That's my advice to you.
I asked her how many kids I was going to have, and it gave me one swing for one daughter and 2 swings for sons. And it was right.
That's isn't that one of the old ones that they used to do? See, I always remember doing it with a needle and thread. You would do it with a needle and thread. I had an aunt that used to do that.
And I've seen it done on coffee grounds too.
Coffee grounds? No. How's that work?
So you've got the coffee grounds, and I don't know exactly the exact methodology behind it, but I have seen it done across coffee grounds. They read the coffee grounds in the bottom of it.
Tea leaf reading.
Yeah, tea leaf reading, like scrying with the yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, that makes sense actually.
I've heard of grannies that can do tea leaf reading.
Oh, guarantee it, man. I mean, you got to remember, guys. Here's the thing: back in those days, there was no TV. There was probably about average person had around 15 kids, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, so
you had land, you had to work, and you
had to have minions.
Yeah.
To do it, right?
You didn't have employees, you had kids.
Yeah, free labor. So you've got all this time on your hands. You got 15 kids. I mean, chances are out of 15 kids, man, you're probably going to lose a couple, because I'm not being morbid here. I'm just telling you the truth. That's how this worked. Yeah. And you learn real quick. You can't take these kids to the doctor every single time. Yeah. So what am I going to do? Oh, my great grandma, she used to do this. She would go out and she'd grab a plantain and she'd chew it up and she'd spit on that, and okay, and it just passed down.
Call the granny witch that lived up the road,
right?
Or go find her.
Right.
Because a lot of the times, man, during that time frame, and even into today, what a lot of people might not know is that midwives, were back then, at least the majority of your midwives were Appalachian witches or granny witches, using traditional folk magic and healing practices
for healing
practices. Mm-hmm. And they would do what you just said, make a poultice or a tea or a tincture.
Yeah. Exactly. And this has all become now herbal medicine, right, Joe? I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
One of the things, for example, this is just from memory, okay? It's, of all things, I'm pretty sure it's catnip tea.
I've heard of it.
Have you ever heard catnip tea?
Yes.
It doesn't do much for adults, but in babies, because it's not potent, but in babies, it prevents babies from getting hives and rashes. Yep, that's right. And that was something that they would do. There was a tree too that they would use. It wasn't an evergreen. I think it was an alder. But
it was the elderberry tea that does something too. I don't know what it did.
Elderberry tea is what is for the flu or cold.
Okay, yeah, elderberry is for that.
Elderberry tea.
Yeah. Oh, and that was another thing. I remember during the 2020, the whole virus thing. Everybody's like elderberry. They didn't realize it actually sped it up. It was not some kind of a miracle cure. So my thing is, how did all these ancient people? How did they get that knowledge? Yeah. Like, this is advanced medicine, okay? And we can say, well, the shamans knew it, right? So the shamans, they transferred it over, and they taught their people, and then those people taught the English and so forth and so on. But it's all around the world. And someone had to teach them. Someone had to show them what what plant to use. We brought this up before. Remember we were talking about psychedelics with that one guy. We're talking about ayahuasca, right? Well, dude, it'll kill you if you take the individual thing, it'll kill you. But if you mix this and this together, you've made something that'll literally open your mind and send you out into the astral plane. How did they figure that out?
When Europeans first came to South America, they refused to eat tomatoes because they thought they were poisonous because of the leaves. They wouldn't eat fruit for a long time. It wasn't until about the time that pizza was invented in the 1600s was when they first started eating tomatoes.
Oh, what a glorious time.
Right?
Pizza. When the first, man, there are some things that if I had a time machine, there are certain things I would go see. One would be Tesla. Two would be the very first pizza, because I would like to see what it actually looked like. I've heard stories like pretty much bread with cheese. Isn't that pretty much what it was at first?
Bread with cheese and whole chunks of tomato.
Yeah, that's it, right? I mean, because I actually made one once.
It wasn't like a main course like it is now. It was a dessert thing for a long time.
And corn. Let's not forget corn. The very first corn. People think, oh, corn, yum, yum. And the Mayans had corn. The Mayans had corn. They had little tiny seed pods, and somehow they learned how to grow those little tiny seed pods into little corns, and those little corns got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what you've got today. And that's the miracle of agriculture, and
it's not magic.
It's not magic.
It's not witchcraft.
It's technology. It's technology.
Technology and science. And, we don't always in this region, for those of you guys who might not be from here or who are listening from abroad, even. We don't call it witchcraft or magic here. It's just what you do. We just grow up because we saw our granny or
well, they call it mountain medicine, actually.
Yeah, it's mountain medicine.
Mountain medicine.
And we do it because we saw our grandparents doing it. It was what was done for us when we were growing up as a kid. We were given tinctures. We were given all these different things.
And it worked. I watched it. I saw it for years. I saw, them curing, babies with colic. I've seen it all. And it's like, and I was a skeptic. I would tell you guys, I was probably one of the biggest skeptics growing up. Maybe that's why I saw all the weird stuff, because, it was like, I'll show you. But I saw all that stuff, and I tried to explain it, but you can't explain that. I mean, the only thing that you can say is that's science. And it's a science that, how in the world did they know it? I know you're like, well, someone taught them. Yeah, my point exactly. Someone taught them. But when you go back into that someone, we're talking about stuff people knew for thousands of years, man.
I was going to ask you guys what all different cures for warts you've heard over the years. I've heard like rubbing a penny on it and throwing it in a river.
Copper.
Get rid of it.
It's copper.
Or a quarter or something like that, throw it in the river. Supposedly the idea was you're supposed to take whatever you rub on your wart and forget about it. And then supposedly your wart would go away because of that.
Huh. I wonder if that works with people.
Right. Right. So some of the other ones I'd seen, there was actually an old man. His name was Lakin Kirk or Kinder. Can't remember his last name. It's been many moons ago. But he could take your warts away. They would. I've seen him buy them off of people.
What?
Yep. Or I'd also seen him sit and rub them until like basically building up friction and heat. And then within a few days, they'd fall off.
Wow.
But yeah, when he would buy them, it was the same thing like that.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. I remember hearing that a lot growing up, too. The seventh son of the seventh son.
Yeah. See, that's one that I'm not super familiar with. But go ahead, Brandon.
Supposedly these people have, if you're born that way, you have magical powers, and that ties into numerology.
Is that how it was, how they got their power? Okay, I never really understood what the significance was of the seventh son of the seventh son. But yeah, I mean, again, you know, apparently it was a thing back then. You had thousands of kids, so.
I often wonder like how many people actually were though, or was that just a tale going around their town?
Maybe.
Oh, they were the seventh son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Could be.
You got to remember at that point in time, it's probably highly likely because you got 20. You know, you talk to some of the grandparents and such around this area now. They're like, "Oh yeah, I had 14 brothers and 10 sisters." You know, so I mean, it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
Like if you watch Monty Python's The Meaning of Life, like there were certain scenes in that movie that were accurate.
My dad and his brother were the 11th and 12th children of his family.
Man.
My great grandparents had 10 kids altogether.
Man, I tell you, man, those generations. I mean, that's crazy if you really think about it. And they did that. Like our population just it boomed, and now we're lucky if they have one.
Yeah.
So we can see what's actually happening out there if we really think about that. And a lot of these old legends, you know, they're finding their ways into these old books and every now and again onto a web page or something. But there's so many, I'm sure they're just going to be gone. They're just going to be extinct within a matter of years, you know, within a matter of decades. Because when these people go, they're taking it with them. I mean, that's it. Sometimes there's no one to leave it to.
Yep.
And some of them were pretty specific, like period specific, you know, like Joe was saying.
Yeah,
it's stuff that's not relevant today.
Yeah,
I was
right.
interviewed for a newspaper article recently, and that was one thing I said was people need to write down the stories from their families, or they're just going to be forgotten forever.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 100%. And you just take that for granted. You really do. It's like even taking pictures of your hometown, you know, when you're growing up, you should do that because, and I mean, take real pictures, real photographs.
It changes quick. It really does.
Yeah, it does. It changes remarkably fast. And you think, I don't really care. But then one day you care. And you're going to want to look back at those. And like I said, real photos, not this digital crap. This digital crap it's not real, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, none of this is real. You're in the matrix pretty much when it comes to that. And all it takes is one errant EMP or one, you know, solar flare. We're that far away from resetting our data. That's it.
Got my fingers crossed. I'm sitting here patiently waiting. I'm one of the few that I know I'll survive.
No, it's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's and it's not surviving. We're talking about losing our knowledge. We're talking about losing it all because, again, we can think about this. It's happened before. We're pretty sure, right? I mean, that's kind of what happened. This time, we're not talking about an asteroid impact. We're just talking about, say, a Carrington event. You know, something like that happens where the solar flare hits the Earth. Boom, the technology is wiped. I mean, we would be dark. Well, that's different. I mean, again, you're talking about something that is going to blot out the sun and cause mass death. And, you know, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everything that's gone dark. Not only does it go dark, all of our tech doesn't work anymore. It would be years before anyone figured out how to get it to work, probably.
Yeah, because so much of the system still runs on analog.
Right.
And nobody knows how to do analog work.
Bingo. That's what I'm getting at. So how much of our technology is just gone? Like, I can tell you right now, you know, okay, I can tell you how to build this and how to do this, right? But I've got to have the tools to do it. I've got to have the power to make it work. If the power's not there for 20, 30 years,
well, you remember
by the time
that blackout back in the 70s that knocked out most of the East Coast from that EMP, that solar flare, I mean.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember. In my world, there wasn't one, but yeah, okay.
All we got to do, man, is build a big Tesla coil and we're set.
Yeah, there you go. Giant Faraday cage or everything. But my point being, Joe, is that the technology, it's gone. Like all of our pictures are gone. All of everything we know is gone. We start all over. And what do we start all over with? We start over with legends. We start all over with...
For some of us, that is a real dream. Like, I'm not trying to be funny or poo-poo on what you're saying there.
That's sad.
I'm literally saying, like, that does not sound bad to me.
That's sad, because it is bad. Because, you know, the fact is, if you have that happen, you've lost probably millions of people. And you've already seen chaos set in at that point, because there are people out there who won't survive. It's a matter of fact. We saw what happened in New York that time when we had the blackout. They went ape crap crazy. They were crazy. They were just absolutely bonkers.
Yep.
We saw that. And yeah, they did. And that was only a 2-day blackout. So you can imagine. But beyond that, what I'm getting at is our technology, our ways of thinking, our cures for our diseases. We're going to revert back to that medicine. Someone's going to remember, hey, there was this time when, you know, if you had a bee sting, you did this. Or if your baby was crying, you did this. You got this plant. Someone's going to remember that.
Speaking of babies crying, I remember being told when I was little that you would take a little bit of bourbon and rub it on their gums.
I thought you created an alcoholic. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Why do you think West Virginians like moonshine so much? They all.
And that's something that a lot of old timers just say would cure all kinds.
Oh, believe you me, it will. It'll also create all kinds of crap.
It's hard to be sick when you can't remember you are.
I thought I was sick, but I don't even know where I'm at now. But now, guys, this, you know, those old mountain witches, you know, or the old mountain medicine people, you know, it's the same thing as the shamans. And that's kind of what it is. It's a village shaman. It's someone who knows how to look at the land and take this piece of the land and use that to cure or to help someone else.
Oh, speaking of moonshine,
I wasn't speaking of moonshine.
Scotch-Irish ancestors, and that technically used to be alchemy back in the day.
Oh, it is.
It did, yeah.
It's totally alchemy. Yeah. Have you ever looked at a moonshine still? That's the same thing that the early alchemists use.
Lab. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's got the condenser coil. It's got the, you know, the purification processes there. I guarantee you, moonshine started from some alchemist, and he probably made that stuff trying to make some kind of a tincture, and he tasted it. And he saw lights, he saw sound, and he probably believed that he figured out, you know, this is the Holy Grail. I just created, you know, the nectar of the gods.
That's made
Mountain Dew. I mean, there's a whole Irish folk song dedicated to the creation of that, and I think I read it to Ron.
Yeah, it's accurate. It's 100% accurate.
It's alchemy, 100%.
It's 100% accurate. I got to tell you guys, I am not a one of those people who just like, you know, goes out and drinks. I don't do that. I'll have a drink every now and again, and it's only, I have my rules. I got to be in a good mood. Cannot be depressed in any way, shape, or form, and I can't be stressed out, which means I have not drunk for a very long time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But over that, there was a period of time, a few months back, to where I had some something. I forget what it was, but it was moonshine, wasn't it, Joe? Was it moonshine? It was moonshine. Yeah, somebody gave me some moonshine, and I was like, "Well, I want to try this," and so I sat down at the computer and I started working on a 3D file, and to my amazement, I was flying through this. I was not like stumbling or I was like, when I sit down there, I was like, I'm not going to get anywhere. I'm going to fall asleep here in this chair. It's going to relax me. I'm going to fall asleep. That is not what happened. What happened was my mind became so clear that I literally knew everything. I didn't have to think anything about that program. I just knew it instinctively. Well, I should have been using the thing for 25 years. But the point is, I didn't have to second guess anything. And what would have took, you know, an hour to create, I had made in probably about 30 minutes or 25 minutes or something. It was crazy. And I told Joe about it, and he's like, well, you do know that's what they, you know, the old poets and the old artists, they always had a little bit of bourbon. I'm like, no, didn't know that.
I mean, Jim Morrison he was always lit when he went in the studio.
Jim Morrison is beyond lit, man.
He was in another dimension.
Jim was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a reason it was called The Doors, man. They were trying to get back to the reality because Jim was out there. Yeah.
For any of our listeners who are interested in some of the herbal medicine and you want it not from like a weird hokey source or something like that, but from a master naturalist and from an actual pharmacist and has their PhD, there's a book that you can look up called A Guide to the Toxicology of Select Medicinal Plants and Herbs of Eastern North America. And that's, again, it's if you live in on the East Coast, so anywhere east of the Mississippi, guys, you're going to find these plants. And it's written by Rebecca Linder, and another doctor also wrote it as well. But she's a really good friend of mine, and that's who I have picked up a whole lot of my current knowledge from regarding medicinal plants and such, and how to make tinctures and whatnot. So it's a good book. Check it out.
Yeah, I've got no resources for you for dowsing. It's just, I ran into a guy just like my life normally works. I meet random people who end up being important in my life for no reason other than just to confuse me even further. But yeah, it's very strange how that works. So
it's always fun. Those folks generally are always the most interesting.
It's definitely fun.
Well, I've been getting interested in that stuff recently, and we went to Taylor Books like 6 months ago, and I happened to see this in the local author section.
I've seen that book.
Oh yeah,
and it is shocking how many like edible and medicinal plants grow in your backyard. You don't even realize.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nettle is one of the best things and high in vitamin C, and it grows in everybody's yard, and everybody hates it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nettle is really good.
Dandelions too.
Rude, David Dewey, the guy who Space Brothers, who does the soundtrack. You'll hear in the background some of the guitar work. That's Rude. Huge into medicine plants. I mean, he was always teaching, trying to show me how this herb does this and this does that. And he learned from the old timers because he works at a feed store, so he got to hear all these old stories and from all these old guys for years and years and years. And he's pretty much a master at that stuff. And I'm just amazed at what some of these herbs can do. I mean. Mm-hmm. It was always like, oh yeah, that's a blah 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 blah. You can use it for this, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I just thought it was oregano.
Right?
I mean, it is, but apparently you can do more with it than just put it on your, put it in your salad. Yeah, it's more than just a garnish, apparently.
Yeah,
so.
Oregano, bay leaf,
lemon.
Lemon, yeah, that's super good for you. Dandelion, like I said, that's
dandelion.
A lot of uses.
Bearded dragons love it, yeah.
But yeah, so guys, if you're interested in the phenomena, what's now a phenomena, because it's not part of our culture as much anymore.
It's sad too.
It is. It really is.
This is one I would really rather see people delving more into. I mean, there are some people, I have seen it, by the way. I've seen people rediscovering it and acting like they discovered something new. They haven't. But whatever makes them happy and whatever keeps it out there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I suggest it, right? Like, get out there and
recommend it.
Yeah.
Get the good sources. Don't go after, find the sources that are written by very credible people who have put the time in, who have put the effort in, not somebody who's just showed up, started Googling stuff and slapping it into a book. Don't do that. Don't follow that. No,
find some of those old books, those old farmers' almanacs, man. Even people threw those away. If you can find those old things, man.
There's a book.
There's gold in that stuff.
There's a book that was called Teas and Tinctures, and it's all about making elixirs, teas to cure your ails, and learn how to make those things, because there's a lot of times like this. This past year, for whatever reason, children's Tylenol was nearly impossible to get hold of. You couldn't find it on the shelves. It was disappearing left and right. People were hoarding it and buying it like crazy. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I just know that we had a hard time finding it. But being able to use natural herbs for pain relievers, topical pain relievers, is what we needed it for teething, and knowing how to use those things the correct way saved me a whole lot of, sleepless nights.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's all there. We were always told, the earth is there and it has everything that we need to survive. We're just stupid and try to destroy the stuff that is meant for us to survive, because that's what humans do.
I know a lot of hippie friends who will just use herbal medicine and stuff, over the counter stuff, because they make a good point. They don't really know exactly what is in a pill.
If you really want to go into that, I know a girl. And she can talk for a good 2 hours on every bit of that. And what's really weird is, I may disagree with her on some stuff, but when it comes to the herbal stuff, she's pretty much spot on. She's read the good stuff, and a lot of that is pretty factual. And I guess that's a good thing. Like I said, as long as we can keep some of this out there.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. The Earth's still probably not flat. So.
Nope. Earth's definitely not flat.
It makes
Coriolis effect. That's all I'm saying.
A lot of the old school grannies, like, what would you do if you came up to them and said, "I've got some wood buggers that keep knocking on my windows at night"? Like, what would they tell you to get rid of those things?
Probably tell you to choose some poultice and throw it at it. I don't know, man.
Modern day, they'd tell you to put up some spotlights.
Yeah, right.
Put up some motion sensor lights. That'll take care of you.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
But yeah, I'm really curious, like what they would, one of the things that they said, because I actually do know a partial answer to this, depending on what part of the country you're in, was they would tell you to take cedar planks, soak them in water, and hang them from the corners of your house.
Really?
Because when you soak cedar in water, it releases the oils back out of it again, and it makes the aroma.
Aromatic.
It releases that cedar aromatic there. And
it's interesting.
In a lot of First Nation cultures, cedar
that's interesting.
Is peace.
Yep.
To symbolize peace. And so they would hang the cedar planks and these aren't big planks. These are, small planks, hang them from the corners of the big house, hang them from the corners of.
It's interesting because cedar was also burned, and offered in that way as a what is it?
Bad spirits.
No. The cedar was used for mostly.
Sage.
Yeah, that's sage. Mostly cedar was used to carry the prayers to Creator. The smoke would carry the prayers to Creator. So that's very interesting.
Valued that.
Well, I was going to say it's very, very, very sacred among the trees is what I'm getting at. And for them to put that out there, that's kind of interesting to me. That's
the Pharaohs loved it so much they would have it imported all the way from Lebanon. And that was a long distance back then.
Oh yeah. But that cedar trick would probably be what you would be told.
Mm-hmm.
Take some cedar, soak it in water. Then when you quit smelling it, soak it in water again.
That's pretty crazy. Wow. Learn something new every time.
Oh, yeah. Another thing they would do to get rid of bad spirits, I forgot about this. This is actually something the Asian cultures do too. But you basically go through your house and make a lot of racket. And supposedly it'll scare off the bad haints you got in your house.
Well,
screaming.
Okay. How's it going for you, Joe?
I have no haints in my house.
How's that working, Joe? Pretty good?
I have 0 haints in my house.
Yeah.
There is a constant clamoring, clacking, and carrying on. It never stops.
Well, I have cats.
Yeah, I forgot about this one. If somebody dies, you're supposed to open all of your windows.
Yeah, that's true.
Let the spirit out.
Yeah. I've heard that multiple times. They'll actually do that in some hospitals and nursing homes and whatnot too. Just to let you know, that's very much. They still go by that. There's a lot of superstition with that. Yep. And it's probably real, just to let you know. But I don't think it matters because that energy can move through stuff.
It ignores walls.
It does ignore walls and floors and ceilings.
I think the story is that when you open that, it basically tells them where to go. Like they're confused when they first die, and they like just hang around the room.
I think that's just something we
window,
tell.
They're like, "Oh, I'm supposed to go out here."
No, I think that's just something we tell ourselves because humans.
Yeah, that's a lot answer to a lot of things. Humans,
Sure is.
because humans.
For real, man. Not kidding. All right. Well, because humans, why don't you tell the folks out there where we're going to be and what's coming up? Because, you know, all that fun stuff is happening.
The very next thing we got coming up, if you are listening to this show on its fresh release, we are going to be at Cryptid Bash. You've got this blinking screen going on right now, terrorizing you. I think that was actually done by Jonathan Dodd.
Well, of course, it's Dodd's work. Everybody can see Dodd's work. It's right there.
I love it. But Cryptid Bash is going to be in Hyco, West Virginia, at a brewery. Good time.
I know. It's only funny. It's only funny if you're watching it and not listening to it, guys.
Right? If you're just listening, you're like, why is he yelling?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Go watch it. You'll figure it out.
So
go ahead.
If you're with us, if you're not going to be with us there at Hyco, come and join us at the Flatwoods Monster Convention. This show is going to be absolutely bonkers, and holy crap, we are a month out, just outside of a month. The hotel's already sold out.
Is that confirmed?
The hotel is confirmed sold out.
Okay, that is a good sign. And today, big news. You can now go and get your advance tickets there online, and it should help you get through the door a little faster. Basically, that's what we're saying. So you might want to go ahead and do that. And for the low price of $10, you get all that. So. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal, and we tried to make it that way, make it affordable for you, so you can actually go buy something from those vendors.
Exactly. And you know, the vendors, we love our vendors. You guys know that we're vendors ourselves. It's going to be an absolute blast. You won't want to miss that one. We've gone to the nth degree to make sure that this show runs very smoothly, and that you guys are going to have a very, very good time.
There could be aliens.
There could be aliens. I mean, you never know what Zemanski's going to drop.
Dude worked at Right Pat for 30 plus years. So he's got some really cool stuff and some neat little truth bombs in that respect.
Well, the next place immediately after that, the week after, is the Mothman Festival. That is the largest cryptid festival, one of the largest festivals, period, on the planet.
Yep.
Point Pleasant, West Virginia, several thousand people, tens of thousands of people will descend on Point Pleasant, and it is going to be absolutely bonkers.
It's going to be crazy. We're going to have some new stuff for debut at that show. Yep. I've got some new art that I'll be bringing out that you will get to see there for the first time, probably. And we got some cool stuff. That's all I can say about that right now.
We do. And as far as that goes, after the Flatwoods Monster thing, we've got an appearance at Mysticon, followed up by CryptidCon.
Mysticon, yeah, I forgot about Mysticon.
CryptidCon is how we round out our year every year, and it's always a great time. But I left one out, man. I left one out because I'm not looking at the list right in front of me.
Left out the powwow.
Thunder in the Mountains powwow.
There you go.
We're going to be speaking at Thunder in the Mountain powwow.
It's not on here.
Days.
Oh well, it's not there.
And it's that is going to be an awesome time. It's a huge honor to be asked to come and present Bigfoot data at a powwow, and it's really cool that they come to us for that they wanted us to do it, and I cannot wait to see what kind of response it gets. Yeah,
it's going to be a great one. And it's been a blast. This whole year's been a whirlwind, pretty much. Just been, we're on the road a lot. And I hope you caught us. Your next chance to hear me is going to be at the St. Albans. Yeah, that's going to be happening at the end of the month, the last Wednesday of this month. I'll be there, and I'll be presenting the final presentation of the case for contact. You do not want to miss it, because I'm going a little more in depth just for those people, because it is more of an intimate, small, area there that we've got.
Let's make sure that the men in black don't destroy the air conditioning again.
They probably won't, but we've got minimal space there, so you want to get in there early, and
it's really small.
it's gonna be a good one. We're gonna pack that place, I'm sure, but yeah, be prepared for it. Like I tell people, bring some notebooks and an open mind. I think that's about it, man. I think we're good.
I think so. So if you guys are interested in coming to Flatwoods, go to wildandweirdwb.com, click on the Flatwoods Monster Convention tab. It's going to take you straight to where you can go ahead and register. We'll have your information show up with your printed registration sheet, and you'll be into the doors. You guys will have an absolute blast. Just got confirmation the restaurant's going to be running as well, so good food.
Just make sure that like we've told people, it tells you in there. Look for your receipt. Print your receipt out or screenshot your receipt. That's how you're going to get in. That's your ticket.
If you want to help support the show, jump onto the live stream this Thursday at 8 p.m. We will be live. 8 p.m. Eastern. Wild and Weird Radio Live hits the air every week, and it's one of the best places to be. We've got one of the greatest communities that we could ever ask for that comes in and supports us as well as everyone else. They jump in. We've got a full chat every single week. There's tons of great questions. And, to clear up some stuff for anybody who listens to the Wild and Weird Radio scheduled show and also Wild and Weird Live. Wild and Weird Live, again, is
a little different, right?
Kind of unwind.
Yeah, it's a little different, right?
Yeah, a little different. It's
a little different.
No.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
To not be scripted. To kind of have fun, cut loose. You get more jokes. We laugh at some things. We'll poke fun at stuff because that's just who we are as people. We are goofballs, but we're also very serious about this subject. You will never hear us making fun of an experiencer or someone who's had some kind of encounter with any various phenomena.
You'll actually hear us go off on people who do that.
Yeah, you will actually hear us berate those people. But one thing that you can expect is to have a good time, have some fun, take off the loafers and put up your feet and enjoy the show for what it is. We're there to have fun and answer your questions as well as cover an interesting topic at the same time. So join us this week, 8 p.m. every week. Wild and Weird Radio Live over on YouTube. It's going to be shared everywhere. Thursdays.
Yes.
Wild and Weird Live.
Yes.
So, remember, the next time you're running around out in the field, you get stung by some kind of weird critter, just take a random poisonous plant, shove it in your mouth, chew on it a little bit, spit it out on your hand. You'll be good to go. Stay wild and weird, everybody.
Well, it'll work one way or the other.